with a deep tradition of waspitude, and it was a wonderful event. Today, I was enthralled by witnessing a school deeply entrenched in the age-old Hellenistic tradition. Yet, both schools, different as they are, they converge like the different colors of our beautiful rainbow, representing the best and the beauty and the strength and the resilience of what this great country has. A round of applause to yourselves. His Eminence, Father Petros, Archbishop Father Petros, Chair of the Board, Gary Tapos, accompanied by Tony Tapis, I'm sorry. Alumni Chair, Ms. Korandaradis, Executive Head of the school, Ms. Mogris, academics, parents, and our stars of the day, our charges, the matriculants. I'm sure I look forward to welcoming you at another stage next year. However, today's conversation is about you, it's about the future. Now, you come from one of the world's most prestigious schools. You are privileged. So I assume that you all are familiar with scales. For most of us here, of my generation and older, we used to have maps. In a map, you'd be given a scale of miles to inches, kilometers to centimeters, right? That means that you have to project what is something on a scale of large spatial distances into something that is compressed on an A4 or A3 paper. So using that scale, you are able to calibrate how far you go. That is what? In space. Now for you matriculants, I'm sure you are all mathematically talented, coming from a Greek school. Compress an age now, which is time, eons, into years. So if 1 year represents 1,000 years. Now, taken in these terms and put in historical perspectives as addressed by Ms. Rees earlier, she spoke very succinctly about the last 100 years. But I want you, with your mind's eye, to look back into our early civilization, our early origins. Of course, we don't know much about history in the prehistoric era. 40,000 years ago, we were wearing animal clothes, living in caves, projecting our thoughts into a piece of rock art. That was the first, by archaeologists, some of course work at vets, that was the first spurt of human cognition, to realize that actually I just don't live for food and water and survival, but I can take my thoughts and project them on a piece of two-dimensional cloth, a rock. However, there's nothing much written about that except for those early rock art paintings in Drakensberg, in Spain, Pyrenees, and so on and so forth. Then 10 years ago, we've got 100,000 students. 10 years ago, we became sedentary. We stopped being hunters and gatherers. Agriculture came. Then out of agriculture, we started concentrating, the great agricultural revolution. Then we formed civilizations just under 5,000 years ago in Greece and not before Greece. No, not before Greece. That was basically the Mycenaean age. But I'm talking about early Egypt, right? And Mesopotamia, where basically early civilizations, because we are now concentrated. Now, two years ago, Christianity emerged from the same region almost. Of course, 2.5 years before that, 2.5 years ago, then you can use a year to 1,000, we had the Greek Golden Age. The Greek Golden Age, the plays and tragedies of Euripides that reverberate into our soap operas to this day. The comedies that Trevor Noah regales the world with. The age of democracy, mathematics, physics is only 2.5 years ago. Now, 8 months ago, in the medieval Europe, you had the emergence of monastic medieval universities. Bologna, Paris, Oxford, Cambridge, that is around that period. They started the small monastic schools. That was only 8 months ago. Then, 5 months ago, we had the Copernican revolution that overturned 1,500 years of Ptolemaic ancient Greek thought around the centrality of the world to the universe. We realized that the earth moves around the sun, but obviously that ran contrary to some beliefs at the time. Now you go to 3 months ago, Isaac Newton explored gravity. 2 months ago, you had the industrial revolutions in the north of England that propelled the world into the age of steam. Last month, we had first light, Eddington. Last week, we had man on the moon. When last week, old Neil Armstrong said, tranquility base here, the eagle has landed. Once more step for mankind, once more step for man, and one giant leap for humankind. So we've made those steps just only a month ago, where we could leave this planet and set sail on the rock, celestial rock, about 500 kilometers away. Now last week, we had the birth of the internet. Last week I happened to have been there. I was a young researcher at CERN when a young British mathematician, now known as Sir Tim Berners-Lee, came with a script to allow all physicists across the world to talk to each other. He called it the Hypertext Protocol, http://www.cern.ch. That's the World Wide Web. So I was slightly older than you. Then yesterday, literally you were born. And just under half a day ago, 6 hours ago, the internet was born. Last second, ChatGPT came about. That is the advent of what is called generative AI. We are now moving into the era of robots. So now, if you can look at that perspective as a human species, as a human civilization, now I'm back to normal time, the last 300 years, and even the last year, so much has changed. Now, it is a world in which you were born. An era that I am not familiar with, although I come from the world of tech. But last year, I was at the World Economic Forum, and there was all the vice chancellors and the presidents of Harvard, MIT, Yale, and West was the only one that represented Africa, but that's for later. All of us, when ChatGPT 4 came about, because it was an upgrade from 3.4 to 4, and then we saw what it was doing, all of us as the vice chancellors, presidents, and directors were like deers in front of headlights. We said, this is an age that you don't know. So what I'm trying to tell you, matriculants, class of 2024, is you are entering into the world of the unknown. But yet, as the executive head said, you have the wherewithal. You've been to the best school you can find in town, and certainly some of the best in the world. That one thing that South Africans can be proud of, apart having, except for last week, the most invincible rugby team in the world. Let's look at the positives. We have some of the best schools in the world. We have some of the best universities in the world. Those things, we mustn't take them lightly. Yes, we have got challenges. We are a very resilient country. So, therefore, you have come through COVID. You've come through all the challenges that we have well articulated by Mrs. Rees. But, with all the hard wiring you've received over the last 18 years of your education, I am convinced that you have the resilience, the wherewithal to create a new world. Not for us, but a new world for yourselves and those that come after you. This education, this marvelous address given by Ms. Rees, talks about your readiness for the new world. Your new world is full of opportunities, is full of challenges. Your world is a world that we are trying to prepare you for. As an example, under the leadership of one of the greatest computer scientists, I'll say, in the world, working at my university, Benji Rosman, we have established what is called the MIND Institute. What does MIND stand for? MIND stands for Machine, Intelligence, and Neurodevelopment Institute, where we combine the machine learning for prosthetics, intelligence, AI, for coding and so on and so forth, and trying to see how does the brain map to artificial intelligence, because that will advance things like precision medicine. Medicine is moving away from the days of diagnosis of the past. Now we're using these tools, these instruments, to do what? To help the doctor. I know there's a lot of dystopian views about AI. I simply call it IA, Intelligent Assistant. And you'll be the ones who will be driving that future. Our job now is to invest in setting down the framework, the foundation upon which you will build and create a new edifice that we don't know how it will look like. But I'm guaranteed and I'm satisfied and I'm sure that given the kind of education you've received, you will be the leaders who will take us to the brighter future that you aspire for. We are all scared of the machines, but I don't think so. I've seen these beautiful young people here singing. No AI can sing like this. So I think the role of the human creative power is important. In the artistic sphere, in the creative sphere, in the theatrical sphere, this is where you'll be strongest. So I encourage you not just to focus only on STEM, and I'm a nuclear physicist, yes, I'll say so, but our future is in our creativity, in the creative arts, in literature, in writing, in thinking, those critical thinking skills that no robot can have. So you'll embrace the future like the founder of the school that I'd like to pay tribute to, who also, as a young refugee who came to this country, names of derision were used by then to actually describe him and his brother and those that came to this country during that period that are not for this occasion. But this young man, amidst the poverty, rose and became a great son of my university, where he encountered another great son, Nelson Mandela, and they had a lifelong friendship. I had the privilege of being at his 90th birthday some years ago, just before COVID, and he had a wonderful sense of humor, quite pithy in a way, and he said, coming from a Hellenistic tradition and firmly embedded in South Africa, having sacrificed so much for this country of mine. So when I get asked about if Greece plays Bafana Bafana, which team do you support? He said, I'll hope for a draw. So Archbishop Bizos, a great son of the soil, as you call him in South Africa, epitomizes what you have. You reflect his spirit of proudly Hellenistic, but embedded and entrenched in South Africa. And I think with those few words, I'd like to say, go forth, the future is bright, may the force be with you. Thank you.